Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I'm also a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I wanted to talk about insecurity, in particular, signs that a woman is insecure. And I made the male version as well. My goal as to what I'm trying to achieve by making this particular video, as well as the male version, is just for people to understand what this looks like. It's not to antagonize anyone or make fun of anybody or put anybody down who might be perceived as more insecure than maybe another group of folks. That's not the goal. And if this is you, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. All that I'm saying is that this is information. If you want to change it, you can. But sometimes people don't know what they come across as. And this might be a good guide if you want to come across more secure, maybe adjust some of these things. The other thing I mentioned in the other video as well is I feel like typically when we discuss insecurity, we do not look at the specifics of how gender and social norms, etc., highlight and create some of these different dynamics. What I'm saying is I think that men and women, their version of insecurity might look a little bit differently. And so that's why I split it up into two videos. And I believe that about a lot of things. I think that our society has shaped individuals in such a way that a lot of times we cannot just group everybody into one category because there's a little bit more specifics in social psychology, influence, right? Attitude, consensus, any of these different perspectives, and then clinical psychology, how we behave from a standpoint of connection and romance and how that influences us in our happiness. And so these types of behaviors and perspectives shape how we are as people. And so male and female, because they have distinct roles in society, I think sometimes they overlap and sometimes they don't. And that's all I'm trying to say. So the first one is that she might overly boast about her achievements or her looks. This one is typically a sign of insecurity because she might be overcompensating and she might feel that by her doing this, that you might actually believe her because she doesn't believe it herself. And so that's kind of where that behavior is. And sometimes this behavior can make people uncomfortable because you don't really know what to say. And you might even see her doing this when she feels like sometimes it might be she's trying to one-up you. I don't know how else to put it. Whereas maybe you had a good achievement, whatever it is, and maybe this person is your friend or your wife or whoever you are, who they are to you. She might kind of want to one-up you. And so she might start changing the gears and start talking about her achievements and her looks. And so usually they do this, especially when that insecurity is triggered. The next one is testing behavior. Now, some people test because they have trust issues. I'm not necessarily saying that. That's another topic for another day. But what I mean is they're actually pushing boundaries or sometimes creating what some folks might call drama. I know people don't like that word, but I didn't have another word at this moment. She might create that drama to see if you react, if you care. And this is very overwhelming for anybody who's experienced this. Even in friendships, this is a behavior that can really push people away. And if somebody is doing this and you feel like maybe they don't know that it's a sign of insecurity, that's something to bring up in a palatable and calm way. But if you are a person that does this, you might not realize how it looks like to somebody else. Other people typically do subconsciously, whether they admit it or not, or even consciously, know that this is a sign of insecurity. The next one is validation through other variables, mediums, contexts, relying on attention. They may post pictures that are clearly gonna get attention. Sometimes people who do this, they talk about very, controversial topics because they want that approval and attention. Some people do this even if it's bad attention, which is interesting, but it does happen. And this doesn't necessarily mean that people can't post pictures or want to share information on platforms, etc. What I mean is that they are actually doing this because they feel that they're missing that, right? Their overall goal for doing this is not because they want to be artistic or they want to meet new friends or they want to share information. It's more so that they're actually doing it specifically so that people can say, wow, you're amazing, or you're smart, or you're beautiful. They're doing it for that attention. And that can be a sign of insecurity, among other things as well. And I think it's important to recognize that usually with insecurity, we don't want to just use one or two traits because it could be a sign of so many other things plus misinterpretation. But usually the whole profile is what we're looking at. The next one is very similar to what we talked about before. We mentioned overly boasting. But some people who are insecure, they don't boast, but they still turn the conversation back on herself to reestablish her status or worth. And so that can be another sign of it. It doesn't have to be overly expressive or animated, but more so that she just doesn't feel comfortable with that attention being off of her. Now, the next one is something that I'm kind of having trouble wording. When I was writing my notes, I wasn't entirely sure how to write it, but I guess the what I landed on was fishing for reactions or trying to elicit or gain a reaction out of somebody. And so an example because I'm not trying to say a negative perspective. It's almost like she's trying to see if you agree with something. So she might say, everyone thinks I look like, I don't know, some celebrity, whatever it is. And then she's trying to see if you're going to say that. Or she might say, it could be another version. All my ex-boyfriends were, abusive or whatever it is. She might be wanting sympathy from you or, oh my God, these guys are so bad, whatever it is. Any sort of reaction. And sometimes you can think about this in another way. What if she's trying to make you jealous? So maybe she likes you and she's trying to get some attention from you and she's not, she doesn't feel like you like her. She might be trying to get you jealous to see if you like her back. And so some sort of fishing for a reaction. And why this is a sign of insecurities, because most people who are secure, if they're uncomfortable or confused about something, they typically are fine with asking for clarification. Even if that results in rejection for whatever reason, people who are secure are able to regulate and not take that personally. People who are insecure, they take rejection much more personally, so it hurts them more. And so they avoid that by doing these indirect means. And you're seeing that with this. The next one is suspicion without evidence. This is coming from a lot of trauma, history of whatever it is, but individuals who are insecure, they tend to have more trauma, but I'm just sharing information. Any sort of suspicion. She might think you're cheating on her, that you'll be dishonest. Maybe she feels like this is warranted with her looking through your phone or things like that. And, boundaries should be set, but this is a sign that she is insecure. The next one is that she tends to have a reaction that seems out of proportion to what it is that is being discussed or whatever's bothering her. Example could be like reading, like I have a friend who does this, and I'm not saying she's insecure, and I'm also not saying she's secure. I'm just giving an example where she reads really deep into the text and tries to read the tone of it. I'm not really good at explaining this. It's like she might have a message and she might say and show it to me and be like, what do you think he means by that? And it's literally one sentence. And it's really just not there's nothing more to it, but she's reading more deep into it. Does that make sense? So she's making things maybe a little bit more exaggerated or blown up than it may be. And then it could be small things let's say, for example, this woman, she's coming over to your house. You're tired. You had a long day. And then she takes that really far. You guys get into a fight about it just because you were a little bit flat or low in your mood. Things like that. Whereas another individual will ask you, is there something I did? Do you want me to go? Are you uncomfortable? Or I imagine you had a long day. Is there something I can do? That's a little bit more normal than just taking it way out of proportion and starting a fight about that, if that makes sense. And the next one is that she always needs to be in a relationship, or she has multiple individuals always around her, texting multiple people to kind of fill that void that she feels. And unfortunately, of course, this does come from trauma, but this leads to this individual having imbalances within relationships, because if you're with so many people all the time, it's hard for you to really realize what a healthy relationship is, and she might sabotage healthy relationships because of this. So I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.